Maz from Boom Crash Opera, welcome to noise11.com 2024. It's going to be a pretty exciting year. You're out with 1927.
1927, and there'll be lots of coconut water being drunk. Sure you.
Oh, that's good. You've been doing quite a few festivals. There was One Electric Day a couple of weeks ago. There was also the Good Things Festival, where you don't get to play a lot of songs. I mean, it's a very condensed set when you do something like that. But, when you narrow a set list down to 6 songs, and every one of those 6 songs is a winner, it's quite the power punch that you give the audience at these festivals, isn't it?
No, I think so. And I think historically bands of our era had more hits. I don't know what that is. We had more radio play or whatever it is, but we can do those festivals and pretty much they're all recognizable. We can do a 45-minute set of songs that people would have heard at some stage on the radio. Yeah. The rest we could, if we have to do an hour of 75, then we can make it up with other stuff that we want to educate people with, like Good Things. We did a track off Born Again, the album that never got released, which is called Beating Addiction, and it's a mammoth, angular sounding song, and people kind of reacted to it because it's angry.
I think, the difference between now and then, as you alluded to back then, I mean, you made albums from a creative perspective. Now they make music from a marketing perspective. And you could release an album every year. Now they release an album every 3 years.
It seems to be like that, doesn't it? I don't know how it works, Paul. And if I had to do it all again, I wouldn't know what to do. I suppose I would know what to do because I'd be in that age bracket. But if we were starting out now, that's where I kind of felt sorry for bands during COVID. Younger bands who are just about to start out and just about to crack it are on the cusp of something, and then the whole industry worldwide just goes into sleep mode. Yeah. And you can't get that time and momentum back, or it's harder to get back. And I just feel devastated. Well, bands like us, we just take off where we left behind. We just start again because you've had the songs.
What's the difference between something like a Good Things Festival versus your own gig? Your own gig, obviously, people are coming along to see you. You play on a Good Things Festival, there would be a fair amount of people in the audience who had never seen this band before.
Correct.
So you're on audition to them in a way.
Pretty much. But I'll tell you what, the reaction that we got led us to believe that, well, they know these songs. I mean, a Good Things audience. They're all in black with beards and tats and fishnet stockings, but they knew our songs, and we were quite amazed. Where do they, where is it that they're hearing these? Maybe from their parents, because they're at that age where their parents probably had Boom Crash Opera records, perhaps, and they were listening to Triple M and all the time. But we were amazed at the reaction that we got.
Have you worked out where the songs of Boom Crash Opera are heard these days? Are you a Triple M band? Are you a Gold FM band?
I think we're both of those. I think we're both of those. We're definitely in that Triple M. Gold. Gold recently played our live EP in its entirety. I was amazed that I flicked it across. Of course, I listen to all community radio and Gold FM and Triple M because when you get it's that big sound of FM radio annoys me. I like the small sound of community radio, but I think we sit in that Triple M Gold category, correct?
Yeah. What about Coles radio? Have you ever been walking down the aisle and out it comes?
Oh, many times. Look, I think that whole paradigm has obviously changed. I was in Kmart recently, shopping for whatever I was shopping for. And I got distracted by the music that they were playing. And I went, what's wrong? What's different here? And I focused in on the music. And instead of it being Girl from Ipanema or whatever, it was Black Sabbath's Paranoid.
Wow.
Going, well, there's your shift. They're targeting middle-aged men or people from that era who have, empty nesters and probably got a bit of cash lying around. They're targeting people like me. Black Sabbath at Kmart in the music. Here we go.
Yeah, well, I guess, we can call Boom Crash Opera elevator music then.
I guess you can. Absolutely. Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I talk to Dale, we talk about the possibility of getting into the studio and doing another record. So, like he always says, maybe. Let's see if we can extrapolate that out a bit further with you.
There's always a dialogue around, new music. Always. It's just the energy to do it. And bands have a finite period where when they start to when they start having families and other priorities in their life. And that for us happened around mid 90s. And then from the mid 90s onwards, for quite a good decade, it was, oh no, don't want to do this, can't do that, haven't got the time for this. But now that we're kind of out of that period too, in our senior years, there seems to be a bit more energy or time to do it. Now, I'm not suggesting that there is going to be a recording, but there is dialogue around it, and it wouldn't take much of a technical on the technical side. We could actually do it. It's just the emotional energy of going through that process. That's I think a lot of bands in our ilk, our era, would struggle with, is dealing with the musical relationships with each other, I think, anyway.
Hmm. But as
You
you
know?
said, there is unreleased music. There is that unreleased album. I mean, will that ever see the light of day?
There is dialogue around that too. And I think my personal view is I think we should re-record that record.
Hmm.
We play about two or three of those songs from Born Again live, and they're tracks that people have never heard before. Well, some have because it got leaked out, but I think that there is merit in doing those songs again. But it's the energy to go into a studio, cultivate or reinvigorate the musical relationship with each other, in order to get it the whole process in an area where everyone's happy, focused. That takes so much energy.
Hmm.
Really does. Emotional energy.
What about with, you're seeing a lot of this with the Beatles, for instance, where the new remasters have just been released in 2023.
Mm.
And in some cases, some of those songs sound remarkably different to the
Mm.
original versions. Are you happy with the sound of the 1980s recordings of Boom Crash Opera, or is there stuff there that you would like to remaster?
I wouldn't remaster them. I'd probably re-record them. Well, look, I think that we all stamp, so everything's got a date stamp on it because of at the time, it was what you did at the time, the zeitgeist, if you like. You recorded a certain way, you had certain technology to record a certain way, so that's the way you did it. And of course, as things move on and time moves on, you do it differently. Uh, I wouldn't play drums like I did. I don't play drums now like I did in the 80s. My style is different, but I have to, in some way, emulate what I did so that it's recognizable. Does that answer? I'm not
Yeah.
sure everyone would do it differently, I think. I'm not sure how people in our group feel, but if you understand, your artist proposition, so Boom Crash Opera is an angular guitar sounding band with big boomy drums and beat and a kind of a lyric that entices the sense of getting out of apathy. It's kind of a happy sound. As long as you stick to that paradigm, no matter what it sounds like, I think you're on the money. That's what we would do anyway. We'd go Boom Crash Opera, right? It's this.
Hmm. Yeah.
As long as we keep that thing in mind.
We talk about this like you haven't seen the inside of a studio in 30 years. You see the inside of a studio quite regularly. More Mark Seymour coming up in 2024. New album, The Boxer.
Yes, that's sounding unbelievable. It's just been mastered. And we go out on tour doing that in was it April? Is it April? I'd have to look at my calendar. It's directly after a Boom Crash run with 1927. And that's sounding incredible. And I'm so honoured, I've got to say, to be working with a guy who is so ultimately focused on the song. I do a lot of session work, a lot of session work. I've got 3 days this week of sessions, but and I'm thankful for that. But I generally just walk in there and there's a template and I just sort of play drums on top. With Mark, it's the dissection of the art, finessed within an inch of its life, so that the building blocks are really solid for him to be able to get that narrative through. Now, I'm just so honoured that I could work with a guy that does that, someone who does that. Working in a recording studio, looking at the guitar player as I'm playing, and there's the keyboard player and the bass player. Often in sessions, I might be the only person in the room, and it's like verses, that's good. Alternatives, good, chorus. Okay, we'll do something different. Blah blah. Okay, next song. you know.
Yeah, so it's interesting though. I mean, Boom Crash Opera was 5 albums deep, plus the sort of acoustic record. With the Undertow, the Boxer will be the 5th album for the Undertow. So you're actually balancing your two careers.
Yeah, and they're different. I approach those bands completely differently too. With Mark's music, it can be extremely light and sensitive. I could be playing with my fingers on the snare drum. And then the other extreme, of course, is it gets quite rock. So whereas Boom Crash, it's 11. Every song is on 11. There's no other way. I thought about this the other day on the plane. I was thinking, there's only one way to play Boom Crash opera music, and that is, and why is that? Well, I think you could just boil it down to empiricism, because it was the only way we could play those songs live for them to get across. We just learnt how to do it. We didn't think of, we just played them like that. We had to play them like that because of the constant touring we were doing.
Yeah.
But with Mark, it's completely different stories. So.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to hear the Boxer in 2024. Boom Crash Opera, of course, have run out of time to do anything for 2023. But Maz, let me tell you this. For bands who have run out of ideas with what to do in the studio, there is always the Boom Crash Opera Christmas album for 2024. You haven't done that yet. I think maybe you should start that early in the new year.
We have a song called Spock. I think Spock was... I think he was the guy that came up with it. It was called Rosebud Carnival Massacre. And I think that'd be a good Christmas song.
That sounds lovely.
Lovely. It's a good Christmas, Paul.
Yes. Well, happy Christmas, happy New Year, happy Australia Day, and into 2024. Looking forward to seeing many more gigs.
Well, we like seeing your face when you walk into a festival site, everyone looks at you and goes, "That's Paul Cashmere," and we always see a good, happy face. And you're like, you're like Jimmy Barnes. When Jimmy walks onto a site, it's like the mayor has arrived, because Jimmy's just one of those affable people who just goes, he says hi to everyone. It's got mate, yeah, great night. He's well loved, and you're the same too, because you're a gentle person.
We better get out and see a few of these gigs then.
Well, I hope to see you.
All right. Thanks, Maz.
Thank you. See ya.